Hello, and today we have There Will Come Soft Rains, a wonderful story that kind of gives us a view of what the world will be if ever we have a nuclear explosion on the scale of the entire world. Nothing will survive. So amazing story, but before that, download, install, and get all the free material that you can from the app. And you are smart enough to figure it out now. All right, so this is Ray Bradbury who wrote this wonderful story, and he was a famous American writer known for his imaginative science fiction. So this story basically is not entirely fiction as well, because this was written around 5 years after the Second World War ended, which means we already had those attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. तो फिक्शन भी नहीं रहा, एक्चुअली रियलिटी हो गई थी. सो दिस स्टोरी इज पर्टिकुलरली अबाउट द आफ्टरमाथ ऑफ अ न्यूक्लियर अटैक और a nuclear explosion where nothing remains except one fully automated house, the house that is able to run itself, but then that also does not survive beyond 24 hours. तो न्यूक्लियर पावर सोच के कुछ और बनाया था, बन एक मॉन्स्टर गया है. एनीवे, यू कैन रीड इट. He began writing at a young age and gained recognition with Dark Carnival, 1947. His most celebrated novel, Fahrenheit 451, was in 53, is considered a classic of modern literature. All right. Theme of the story is dangers of technology. Obviously, the story warns that scientific and technological advancements can be misused, leading to destruction, such as nuclear war. Oppenheimer नहीं देखी है तो देख सकते हैं. You will get a decent understanding of what technology can lead to. So first is dangers of technology. Second, consequences of a nuclear war. It highlights the devastating effects of atomic weapons and serves as a warning against their reckless use, as they used it in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and we all know what happened after that. So it is the consequences. Then machines versus humans, and actually it is machines versus nature. Nature, you cannot beat nature with all your technology. Anyway, even after humans are destroyed, machines continue to function, showing how dependent people have become on technology, like we are. Power of nature, yes. Nature remains strong and unaffected by human destruction, proving that it is more powerful than human creations. Very important. And loss of human values. The automated house lacks emotions and human warmth, emphasizing how technology cannot replace human life and relationships. So these are the various themes that have been covered in this particular story. You can make a note of them and you can use them in your answers. And here we go with the story. ये भी nuclear war के बाद का जैसा लहरा रहा है text. Anyway, we will get started. In the living room, the voice clock sang tick tock, 7 o'clock. Time to get up, 7 o'clock, as if it were afraid that nobody would. तो घड़ी लगातार clock जो है टक टक कर रही है, 7 o'clock, get up, as if it is scared that nobody will get up. Now this is personification of the clock being scared. The morning house lay empty. The clock ticked on, repeating and repeating its sounds into the emptiness. 7, 9, breakfast time, 7, 9. All right. So the house lay empty. So you can actually visualize a house in which there's alarm going on and there is no response. The house is absolutely empty. The clock ticked on, repeating and repeating its sounds into emptiness. There is nobody there. The sound is just going into empty spaces. 7, 9, breakfast time. In the kitchen, the breakfast stove gave a hissing sigh and ejected from its warm interior 8 pieces of perfectly brown toast. 8 eggs, sunny side up. Sunny side up, those of you who eat eggs, you would know, ये omelette भी होता है, full fried होता है, एक half fried होता है, where the yolk side, the yellow side, and it is not completely fried, it is still in a semi, you can say a gelatinous kind of form, and the yolk side is put upwards. You can see it. Fine. So that is sunny side up. 16 slices of bacon, 2 coffees, and 2 cool glasses of milk. So if you go through this paragraph, 2 cool glasses of milk and 2 coffees, 16 slices of bacon and 8 eggs and 8 pieces of perfectly brown toast. So you can actually calculate there are 4 people maybe. Fine. And maybe 2 kids who consume glasses of milk and 2 adults who drink coffee. Anyway, Today is August 4th, 2026, said a second voice from the kitchen ceiling. Kitchen ceiling. Now it is, as I said, it is fully automated house. People have these kinds of houses in Europe and America, and maybe in some part the super rich in India as well. In the city of Allendale, California, it repeated the date 3 times for memory's sake. Today is Mr. Featherstone's birthday. Today is the anniversary of Tilita's marriage. Insurance is payable, as are the water, gas, and light bills. So technology is taking care of everything. It is making you recall the birthdays, the anniversaries, and the bills that remain to be paid. Somewhere in the walls, relays clicked, memory tapes glided under electric eyes. So it is all automated and it is all functioning on electricity. 8-1 tick tock. 8-1 o'clock. Off to school, off to work, run, 8-1. But no doors slammed. No carpets took the soft tread of rubber heels. Maybe the children's shoes. It was raining outside. The weather box on the front door sang quietly, rain, rain, go away, umbrellas, raincoats for today. And the rain tapped on the empty house, echoing. Rain tapped on the empty house, echoing. Technology has been able to survive the catastrophe. It is still functioning, though no humans remain. Outside, the garage chimed and lifted its door to reveal the waiting car. After a long wait, the door swung down again. When nobody turned up, the door automatically came down. At 8:30, the eggs were shriveled and the toast was like stone. Shriveled, सिकुड़ जाना होता है, and toast obviously, वो पत्थर जैसे खड़े हो गए. An aluminium wedge scrapped them into the sink. Wedge is something, maybe a wooden, a piece of wood that is used to separate stuff. So an aluminium wedge scraped them into the sink, where hot water whirled them down a metal throat which digested and flushed them away to the distant sea. All right, metaphor. Maybe this is the pipe, the metallic pipe of the sink. So jo khana, of course, the eggs were not consumed, the toast, they were not consumed. So unko scrap karke sink mein dal diya, they went down the drain. The dirty dishes were dropped into a hot washer and emerged twinkling dry, और dishes भी साफ करके रख दिए गए. 9:15 sang the clock, time to clean. All right, now the housekeeping begins. Of the warrants in the wall, warrants the holes. Of the warrants in the wall, tiny robot mice darted. Darted, teri se nikle. Tiny mice. All right. The rooms were a crawl with the small cleaning animals, all rubber and metal. And these were cleaning animals. They came out to clean the house. As I said, the housekeeping begins. They thudded against chairs, whirling their mustached runners, kneading the rug nap, sucking gently at hidden dust. Then, like mysterious invaders, they popped into their burrows. Burrows? The holes in the ground, that is, okay? Their pink electric eyes faded. The house was clean. So these are robotic mice who come out to clean the house and go back. 10 o'clock, and this was all done within 45 minutes. 10 o'clock, the sun came out from behind the rain. Now, barish, uske piche se ab now the sun is coming out. The house stood alone in a city of rubble and ashes. Debris, पूरा जो है खंडहर हो चुका है शहर, और वहां ये इकलौता घर बचा हुआ है. This was the one house left standing. At night, the ruined city gave off a radioactive glow which could be seen for miles. The city gave off a radioactive glow. So of course there has been a nuclear explosion. So that radioactive glow is all over the city and it could be seen from miles away. 10:15. The garden sprinklers whirled up in golden founts, filling the soft morning air with scatterings of brightness. The water pelted window panes से पानी आ रहा है sprinkler से, running down the charred west side where the house had been burned evenly free of its white paint. Now the west side of the house had been completely burned and the paint has like totally gone, evenly free of its white paint. The entire west face of the house was black save for 5 places. 5 जगह बची थी जहां पे अभी वो पेंट था शायद, या टोटली ब्लैक नहीं हुआ था. Here the silhouette in paint of a man mowing a lawn. Here, as in a photograph, a woman bent to pick flowers. Still farther over, their images burned on wood in one titanic instant. Boom! अचानक से. A small boy, hands flung into the air, higher up, the image of a thrown ball, and opposite him a girl, hands raised to catch a ball which never came down. The family was in the garden. The gentleman was mowing the lawn. The lady was picking the flowers, and the children were playing. The boy had just thrown the ball up, and the girl was waiting for the ball to come down, which never come down. At that very instant, a huge explosion might have taken place, and they just died in that particular instant. No time to run around or even recover. So these were the 5 places where it wasn't completely black. The 5 spots of paint: the man, the woman, the children, the ball remained. The rest was a thin charcoal layer. The gentle sprinkler rain filled the garden with falling light. Until this day, how well the house had kept its peace. How carefully it had inquired, who goes there? What's the password? And getting no answer from lonely foxes and whining cats, it had shut up its windows and drawn shades in an old maidenly preoccupation with self-protection which bordered on a mechanical paranoia. Obsession. Security se itna obsession tha. There was a password that was to be kind of provided if you wanted to enter the house. And the house asked for the password from everybody. If there was no password coming, it just shut itself. Even it drew the shades. It quivered at each sound. The house did. Quivered at each sound, kind of trembled, shook. If a sparrow brushed a window, the shade snapped up. The bird, startled, shocked, flew off. No, not even a bird must touch the house. Security के लिए paranoid. तो एक चिड़िया भी घर नहीं छू सकती, परिंदा भी पर नहीं मार सकता जिसे कहते हैं. 12 noon, all right. A dog whined, shivering on the front porch. The front door recognized the dog voice and opened. The dog, once huge and fleshy, but now gone to bone and covered with sores, moved in and through the house, tracking mud. Maybe this was their pet who somehow survived. So the technology was able to recognize the voice, VRS, voice recognition systems. It let the dog in. The dog had also suffered. Its body was full of sores. घाव हो रखे थे. Behind it were angry mice, angry at having to pick up mud, angry at inconvenience. Now, please remember that these are mechanical devices, all right, rubber and metal mice. Again, personification, the angry mice. कि यार अभी अभी सफाई किया था, ये फिर मिट्टी की ट्रेल लेके अंदर आ गया. For not a leaf fragment blew under the door, but what? The wall panels flipped open and the copper scrap rats splashed swiftly out. The offending dust, hair or paper, seized in miniature steel jaws, was raced back to the burrows. There, down tubes which fed into the cellar, it was dropped into the sighing vent of an incinerator. Sorry, I find certain words to be very difficult for me to pronounce. Incinerator. बेटा जैसे भी हो जाए तुम सही कर लेना यार इसको. All right. Basically it's a furnace where the waste is dropped and burnt, which sat like evil ball in a dark corner. The evil god in the hell wait कर रहा है कि हाँ ठीक है भाई. The dog ran upstairs, hysterically yelping to each door. जोर जोर से भौंक रहा है, एक desperate scream. At last realizing, as the house realized, that only silence was here. There was no mankind left. There were no humans in the house. It sniffed the air and crashed the kitchen door. Behind the door, the stove was making pancakes, which filled the house with the rich baked odor and the scent of maple syrup. वो sticky सा syrup होता है जो toast में लगा के खा जाते हैं. The dog frothed at the mouth, lying at the door, sniffing, its eyes turned to fire. It ran wildly in circles, biting at its tail, spun in a frenzy, and died. Of course, any living thing could not survive a nuclear explosion, right? So humans had gone earlier. The dog dies now. It lay in the parlor for an hour. और parlor में 1 घंटे वो पड़ा रहा, dead body वहां पे पड़ी रही. 2 o'clock sang a voice. Delicately sensing decay at last, I mean, an hour, 1 घंटे बाद decay, जो body had started to decay, तो उसको sense किया house ने. The regiments of mice hummed out as softly as blown grey leaves in an electric wind. 2:15, the dog was gone. Clean करके उसको हटाया कहाँ? In the cellar. The incinerator glowed suddenly. A whirl of sparks leaped up the chimney. तो वहां पे again the body burned and sparks flew. 2:35. Bridge tables sprouted from patio walls. तो जो कोर्ट यार्ड में वॉल्स थे वहां से टेबल्स आती हैं और ब्रिज, अ गेम ऑफ कार्ड्स, वो सेट हो जाता है. प्लेइंग कार्ड्स fluttered onto pads in a shower of pips. Martinis manifested on an oaken bench with egg salad sandwiches. Music played. Now this was relaxation, this was entertainment time. तो ब्रिज का गेम सेट हो गया है, थोड़ा बहुत नाश्ता वहां पे लगा दिया गया है, and music played. But the tables were silent and the cards untouched. Nobody was there to play. At 4 o'clock, the tables folded like great butterflies back through the paneled walls. 4:30, the nursery was glowed. Sham ho gayi hai, 4:30. Now the nursery was glowed. Animals took shape. Yellow giraffes, blue lions, pink antelopes, lilac panthers, cavorting, skipping and jumping. In crystal substance, the walls were glass. They looked out upon color and fantasy. Hidden films clocked through well-oiled sprockets. Sprockets बेटा जो इस तरह के व्हील्स नहीं होते हैं जो चेन्स में फिट हो जाते हैं और ये मूव करते हैं, चेन ऐसे चलती है, ठीक है. दीज आर स्प्रॉकेट्स, पहिए इस तरह के, ठीक है. ऑलराइट. They looked out upon color and fantasy. Hidden films clocked through the well-oiled sprockets and the walls lived. The nursery floor was woven to resemble a crisp cereal meadow. Over this ran aluminium, roaches, cockroaches and iron crickets. And in the hot, still air, butterflies of delicate red tissue wavered among the sharp aroma of animal spoons. There was a sound like a great matted yellow hive of bees within a dark bellows, the lazy mumble of a purring lion, and there was the patter of okapi giraffe की category में आते हैं, and the murmur of a fresh jungle rain like other hoofs falling upon the summer starched grass. Now the walls dissolved into distances of parched grass, mile on mile and warm endless. The animals drew away into thorn breaks and water holes. It was the children's hour. तो पूरे गार्डन में लाइटनिंग से उन्होंने एनिमल्स वगैरह बना रखे थे जो कि they were escaping and they were colorful and it was children's hour, बच्चे खेलने का टाइम. 5 o'clock, the bath filled with clear hot water. 6, 7, 8 o'clock, the dinner dishes manipulated like magic tricks, and in the study, a click. In the metal stand opposite the hearth, where a fire now blazed up warmly, a cigar popped out, half an inch of soft grey ash on it, smoking and waiting. तो ये पूरा, it is very much in front of our eyes. बहुत ही vivid, बहुत ही graphic description है कि सुबह से लेके शाम तक हो क्या रहा है. और अब dinner has been laid down and उसके ऑपोजिट एक हर्थ के ऑपोजिट एक टेबल पे सिगार रखा हुआ है, half an inch of soft grey ash on it, smoking and waiting. मतलब जला के रखा हुआ है कि maybe the man used to smoke cigar after having his dinner. 9 o'clock, the beds warmed their hidden circuits, for nights were cool here. चूंकि रात को टेम्परेचर गिरता था तो बेड्स के इंटरनल सिस्टम से वायरिंग थी, सर्किट्स थे, वो बेड को warm blankets. If you've gone to places like Leh Ladakh or even Shillong, you would know कि वहां पे blankets में circuits रहते हैं to keep it warm. 9:05, a voice spoke from the study ceiling. Mrs. McLennan, which poem would you like this evening? The house was silent. Now this is maybe every evening there was storytelling time or there was poem time. So somebody like maybe Alexa comes out and asks, ma'am, what poem would you want to listen tonight? With no answer. The voice said at last, since you express no preference, I shall select a poem at random. चूंकि आपने कुछ बोला नहीं है तो मैं एक poem select करके देती हूं आपको. Quiet music rose to back the voice. Sarah Teasdale. As I recall your favorite, there will come soft rains and the smell of the ground. So ये poem थी सारा टीसडेल की जहां से ये स्टोरी बनाई है. There will come soft rains and the smell of the ground, and swallows circling with their shimmering sound, shimmering, shining, okay, swallows, birds, and frogs in the pools singing at night, and wild plum trees in tremulous white. Robin will wear their feathery fire, whistling their whims on a low fence wire. And not one will know of the war, not one will care at last when it is done, not one would mind neither bird nor tree if mankind perished utterly. And spring herself, when she woke at dawn, would scarcely know that we were gone. All right, now this is the crux of the story or of the poem, that nature will keep going on its path. Nature will not stop, and nature is supremely powerful. It will not bother to stop and ask, where is mankind? If mankind is removed from the face of the earth, nature will not bother. We say ना कि planet को बचाओ, nature खुद को बचा लेगा. अरे खुद को बचाओ तुम. Nature is all powerful. It will save itself. It is the mankind that is in danger. So when the mankind is gone, nature will not even bother about. I mean, you must have been very young during COVID times, but we were not allowed to move out and use the vehicles, and there was very less pollution. And suddenly the sparrows and the birds and the butterflies, they all started being seen. So the moment mankind stops its activities, the nature blooms. So nature bother nahi karega aap rehte ho ya nahi rehte ho. And spring herself, when she woke at dawn, would scarcely know that we were gone. कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ने वाला नेचर को. The fire burned on the stone hearth, and the cigar fell away into a mound of white ash on its tray. कोई पी नहीं रहा है तो अपने आप वो चले गया ट्रे में उसकी ashes. The empty chairs faced each other between the silent walls, and the music played. At 10 o'clock, the house began to die. तो एक दिन तो survive किया, but at 10 o'clock it began to die. A wind blew, a falling tree above crashed kitchen window, cleaning solvent bottle shattered over the stove. The room was ablaze in an instant. और एक cleaning solvent था maybe जिसमें chemicals होते हैं जो easily fire पकड़ लेते हैं, वो stove पे गए और फिर वहां पे एक आग लग जाती है. Fire! Screamed a voice. The house lights flashed. Water pumps shot water from the ceilings. But the solvent spread on the linoleum, licking, eating under the kitchen door, while the voices took it up in chorus. Fire, fire, fire. अब प्रॉब्लम क्या है ना कि पानी तो आप डाल रहे हो, बट वो जो केमिकल है वो हर तरफ फैल चुका है. एंड ये जो कवरिंग है चीजों की, इनके ऊपर भी आ चुका है. तो फायर इज नाउ काइंड ऑफ अनस्टॉपेबल. द हाउस ट्राइड टू सेव इटसेल्फ. Doors sprang tightly shut, but the windows were broken by the heat, and the wind blew and sucked up the fire. The house gave ground. घर जो है वो हारने लगा. As the fire in 10 billion angry sparks moved with flaming ease from room to room and then up the stairs. तो पहले नीचे के सारे कमरों में आग लगी और फिर ऊपर की तरफ बढ़ना शुरू करती है. While scurrying water rats squeaked from the walls, pistoled their water and ran for more, and the wall sprays let down showers of mechanical rain. आग बढ़ती जा रही है और house is trying to save itself. Those mice and all, they are getting water and trying to sprinkle it, and fire अभी भी बढ़ती जा रही है. But too late. Somewhere, sighing, a pump shrugged to a stop. The quenching rain ceased. The reserve water supply, which had filled baths and washed dishes for many quiet days, was gone. तो supply ही नहीं रहा और pump रुक चुका था. Technology हार मान रही. The fire crackled up the stairs. It fed upon Picassos and Matisses in the upper halls like delicacy. जो भी अब maybe rich people तो पेंटिंग्स वगैरह लगा रखा था, सबको जलाते हुए चली गई. Like delicacy, something that is tasty to eat, baking off the oily flesh, tenderly crisping the canvases into black shavings. और उनको भी बिल्कुल चार करके रख दिया. Now the fire lay in beds, stood in windows, changed the colors of drapes. Everything is going to turn black. And then reinforcements. अच्छा, अब technology still tries to fight. From attic trapdoors, blind robots faces peer down with faucet mouths, gushing green chemical. Or अब they are trying to pour some chemical on the fire to kind of finish it off. The fire backed off, as even an elephant must at the sight of a dead snake. तो थोड़ी देर तो fire पीछे रही. Now there were 20 snakes whipping over the floor, killing the fire with the clear, cold venom of green froth. But the fire was clever. It had sent flame outside the house. अब ये तो अंदर चल रहा है ना attic के आसपास. Fire बाहर से भी उसने घर को घेर लिया है. But the fire was clever. It had sent flame outside the house up through the attic to the pumps there. An explosion. Boom. The attic brain which directed the pumps was shattered into bronze shrapnels on the beams. और वो attic में जो टेक में भी कंप्यूटर सा कुछ लगे हुए थे वो सब धूम धमाके से उड़ गए. The fire rushed back into every closet and felt of the clothes hung there. And the fire came again inside the house. और हर closet में जा जाके वो कपड़े जल रहे हैं. The house shuddered. Oak bone on bone. Its bared skeleton cringing from the heat, its wire, its nerves revealed as if a surgeon had torn the skin off to let the red veins and capillaries quiver in scalded air. All right, अब देखो. मे बी लकड़ी का बना है, ओक, बोन ऑन बोन. अब एवरीथिंग इज बर्न डाउन. अब केवल स्केलेटन दिख रहा है बाहर का. इट्स बेयर्ड स्केलेटन क्रिंजिंग फ्रॉम द हीट, इट्स वायर, इट्स नर्व्स रिवील. जो भी वायरिंग कर रखी है, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी वायरिंग है, जो भी कुछ है, सब अब खुल चुका है. और क्विवर इन स्कैल्डेड air. Help, help, fire, run, run. Heat snapped mirrors like the first brittle winter ice. And the voices wailed. Rona, chillana. Fire, fire, run, run, like a tragic nursery rhyme. A dozen voices, high, low, like children dying in a forest, alone, alone. And the voices fading as the wires popped their sheathings like hot chestnuts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 voices died. Slowly, आँख के सामने जितने भी इनके gadgets हैं, they are all dying. So 5 voices dead. In the nursery, the jungle burned. Blue lions roared. Purple giraffes bounded off. The panthers ran in circles, changing color, and 10 million animals running before the fire vanished off toward a distant steaming river. 10 more voices died. और बाहर जो animals के लिए भी voices जो through technology लगा रखी थी, 10 वो भी खत्म. In the last instant under the fire avalanche, other choruses, oblivious, not aware of, could be heard announcing the time. अच्छा, अब एक है उसको आइडिया नहीं है क्या हो रहा है, तो वो टाइम अनाउंस कर रही है अपना, वो घड़ी सही है. Cutting the lawn by remote control mower, or setting an umbrella frantically out and in, the slamming and opening front door, 1,000 things happening like a clock shop where each clock strikes the hour insanely before or after the other. A case of total chaos, pandemonium हो रखा है, ठीक है, अफरा तफरी, a scene of maniac confusion. Yet unity, singing, screaming, a few last cleaning mice darting bravely out to carry the horrid ashes away. And one voice, with sublime disregard for the situation. Sublime disregard for the situation. A cool line, wonderful line. If ever you want to become a writer, this is the stuff a genius is made of. Sublime disregard. एक होता है ridiculous, यहाँ बंदा बोला sublime disregard. उसको फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा, न्यूक्लियर वॉर हो गया है, एक्सप्लोजन हो गया है, आग लग चुकी है, घर बर्बाद हो चुका है, वो अपना बोल रही है. Read poetry aloud in the fire study until all the film spools burned, until all the wires withered and the circuits cracked. जब तक टेक्नोलॉजी पूरी तरह से ध्वस्त नहीं हो गई, तब तक वो आवाज पोएम पढ़ती रही. The fire burst the house and let it slam flat down, puffing out skirts of spark and smoke. In the kitchen, an instant before the rain of fire and timber, the stove could be seen making breakfast at a psychopathic rate. 10 dozen eggs. 6. Now please understand, the computer has gone totally haywire. वो program उसका हिल चुका है. अब वो 10 dozen eggs, 6 loaves of toast, 20 dozen bacon strips, which eaten by fire startled the stove working again, hysterically hissing. और जब वो consume हो गया है तो stove फिर से काम करना start कर गया है. The brain is out. The crash. The attic smashing into kitchen and parlor. The parlor into cellar, cellar into sub-cellar, deep freeze, armchair, film tape, circuits, beds, and all like skeleton thrown in a cluttered mound deep under smoke and silence. A great quantity of smoke. So everything has been burned down now. Dawn showed faintly in the east. सुबह ये रात भर ये चला है. रात भर fire and technology, they fought. Dawn showed faintly in the east. Among the ruins, one wall stood alone. Within the wall, a last voice said over and over again and again, even as the sun rose to shine upon the heaped rubble and steam. Today is August 5, 2026. Today is August 5, 2026. Today is. This was the end of the house. तो एक दिन हाउस ने सस्टेन किया, but nature simply is unbeatable. When nature decides to bring you down, it will bring you down come what may, आपने जितनी भी टेक्नोलॉजी में प्रोग्रेस कर रखी हो. So that is the message, that please control, have certain control over technology, otherwise that will ultimately lead to the extinction of mankind from the planet Earth. Characters, Macklin family, wealthy and modern. तभी उनका house जो है वो totally automated है. Dependent on technology, victims of nuclear war, fond of comfort and luxury, symbol of humanity, destroyed by its own inventions. Garden में चारों एक साथ ठक करके गायब हो गए. The computer controlled house is, of course, that is also character in the story. Fully automated and efficient, obedient and systematic, emotionless and mechanical, continues working despite human absence, symbol of technological advancement and human dependence on machines. ये घर के characteristics. The dog, loyal and faithful, weak and suffering from the radiation, with having those sores on the body, restless and helpless, victim of nuclear destruction, represents the tragic fate of living beings after the disaster. A family तो चली गई यार उसकी, अकेला बचा है, अब वो भी बहुत ज्यादा पेन में है. It dies. Mice, hard working and efficient, programmed to clean the house, mechanical and emotionless, obedient to commands, symbol of automation and technology. वो बार बार निकल के आते हैं, साफ करते हैं चीजों को. Clock, punctual and disciplined, automatic and reliable, continues its duty without interruption, unaware of human extinction, symbol of routine and the dominance of machines over human life. And finally, these are the words that you ought to know. So please, when you go to that free material folder, you will find this there. Please, please, please make sure that you try to remember all the words that you don't know. But as I say, 1 year, 2 years from now, you all will be competing for a seat in the best colleges in the nation. And then रोना वही हो जाता है कि सर वोकैब का क्या करें. तो बेटा अभी से करते रहो, आगे जाके प्रॉब्लम कम आएगी. आई वोंट से नहीं आएगी, बट कम आएगी. Vocabulary is very, very, very important for all the verbal ability sections that you're going to face in the coming competitive exams. तो बेटा वो गैप अभी से ना कोशिश करिए फिल कर लें. And of course, this is where you get the free material from. And thank you for staying with me for this long. And very, very soon we are going to come up with the answers to pertinent questions that are asked from each poem and each story. तो अभी explanation है और आंसर्स लेके भी हम आएंगे. डोंट वरी अबाउट इट. थैंक्स बेटा. सी या. बाय बाय.